Hi everyone, today's video is all about fat. So the last lecture, we'll just recap quickly on that, was about protein, and protein being mega important for reaching your fat loss and muscle building goals. And it's probably the most important macronutrient to consider when planning your fat loss or your muscle gain journey. So fats then. Fats are typically your olive oils, your avocados, your butter, your nuts and your dairy. And the functions of fat are, it has a large energy store. So at 9 calories a gram, you can see why it's a lot easier to overeat on fats. It's more than double what protein and carbohydrates are. So protein's 4 calories a gram, if you remember. So fat's just over double. And fat is actually important for insulation. It's a bit, now we've got central heating in our houses, but back in the day, we needed fat for insulation, especially when we lived in the wild. So it kept us warm. It's important for your immune function. Fats get really overlooked. They've got bad press in the news, and we're always told not to have saturated fats, but fats are so important to your immune function. They're important for your sex hormones as well, so your testosterone, your estrogen, if you're a woman, estrogen, and the more fat or the more good quality fats we consume, it has a carryover effect on our mood. If you've got low testosterone, you're going to have low mood, low libido, you're going to carry more body fat. So fat it's not something that we're going to overlook. And also it helps us absorb certain vitamins. So in particular vitamin A, D, E and K, and that's stored within our bodies. So if we don't have fats with these vitamins, then we don't absorb them. And let's be honest, all fats are pretty tasty. So it's good to have them in the diet because they just add that element of taste. So how much fat do we need? Well, the current recommendations are to consume about 0.5 to 1.2 grams per kilo of body weight, and that is basically going to get you your requirement of fat. So if you're an 85 kilogram male, then this looks like either 42.5 grams at the lower end of the spectrum up to 102 grams per day. I wouldn't recommend going any lower than 42.5 grams, and in sort of studies, it's been shown that people who do have extreme low-fat diets can actually increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. So that's something to consider if you're going to go low-fat. As I've just said there, don't go lower, but you can, but don't do it for very long. So the thing about fats, some are essential. We must have them in the diet, others are not. And they're typically broken down into 3 different areas, if you like. So you've got your saturated fats, and this is what we're typically told to stay away from in the media and all that kind of thing. And you've got your red meat, your cheese, your dairy, and your coconut oil. And you can there's a hell of a lot of vitamins to be getting as well from these saturated fat sources. But on the flip side of the coin, coconut oil isn't some magic fat that's going to make you lose weight. And you've got your monounsaturated fats as well. So these are things typically associated in the Mediterranean diet, if you've heard of that. And you've got avocado, olive oil, your nuts such as almonds. And then you've got your polyunsaturated fats, so your vegetable oils, your salmon, and your nuts and seeds. And rather than just aiming for one type of fat, it's good to get a whole host of these different types of fat in your diet. And to be honest, I would sway more to getting the monounsaturated fats in there, but that's my bias is taken over. And I just wanted to put this table in here today just to sort of show you that all fats are not created equal, and fats which are labelled as say saturated fat, you've got to consider they have the other types of fat in, like polyunsaturated and monounsaturated. So let's look at breast milk, for instance. We're told by the media to stay away from saturated fats, okay? But breast milk is pretty much half saturated fat. And what, let's be honest, if you've had a baby, the doctors, the nurses will always tell you breast is best. But, look at this, it's got saturated fats in, so that's something to consider. Also lard as well. Look at lard. Yes, it's got 40% saturated fats, but it's also got, the other half, the other profile is monounsaturated fats, which are these really good fats typically found in your Mediterranean diets. So this is just to give you an idea of the different compositions of different fats. Okay, can you eat fat to burn more fat? Everyone, you might have seen it on the news and social media and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you eat fat to burn fat, but is that necessarily true? Not really. So when you eat more fat, you burn more dietary fat. So what that's saying is, if you have more butter in your diet, your body's just going to process that butter as normal. So it's just going to use that fuel that's in the body, i.e. that's coming from the butter, and use it. It's not going to miraculously tap into fat stores and use that for fuel. If that fuel is readily available in the body, i.e. from the form of butter, it's going to use that. If you burn more body fat will depend whether you're in a calorie deficit or a surplus. So if you're eating boatloads of butter and you're in a calorie surplus, are you going to lose weight? Probably not. So let's touch on trans fats now. We've touched on all the good quality fats. It's time to, look at the ugly, if you like, now. And the thing about trans fats are they are primarily man-made, and they're man-made for one reason, and that's to prolong shelf life. And things to look out for if you investigate the labels on food, look out for partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. So anything with the word partially in should send alarm bells ringing in your head, and try and stay away from those. And it's commonly found in your margarines, your fried foods, your pastries, and your highly processed snacks. So trans fats are consistently shown to increase cardiovascular disease through worsened lipids and systematic inflammation. So what I'm trying to get at is, any food source that is typically on a shelf, for instance, or ready meals and all that sort of thing, they've got to be made so they last a long time, and they do that by putting these bad fats in there. So the take-homes of fats are, it plays a number of vital roles in the body. It's energy dense, containing 9 calories a gram, and very low intakes should be avoided. It's also important to stay away from trans fats as much as you can, and aim for a balanced or a varied fat intake. So aim to get some monounsaturated fats, some polyunsaturated, and some saturated. And eating more fat doesn't mean you use more body fat. So it's not the bad guy we thought fat would be, or used to be. There's a lot of science coming out saying fat is good. So the key point is eat more fat and feel healthier, look better, and have more energy. And I'll speak to you next time. See ya.